In November of 2023, the Swell Pod took a 10-day journey across 5 states, traveling 3,580 miles with one challenge in mind.
And that challenge was to interview 100 pleasantly rebellious humans to uncover deep truths about what it takes to create something that has never existed before, challenge the status quo, maybe even change the world.
This is the Kiln Road Trip, created and produced by the Swell Pod.
In partnership with Kiln, Moterra Camper Vans, and sponsored by Taurus.
I'm Spencer McKeown.
And I'm Josh Taylor, and together we're the co-hosts of the Swell Pod and your guides on the Kiln Road Trip. Follow along on the journey.
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, follow the Swell Pod on social media, and subscribe to your YouTube channel at, you guessed it, the Swell Pod.
This is interview 6 of the Kiln Road Trip, and today we're at Kiln Park City talking with Megan Recher, Principal and AIA, and Haley Nelke, Design Professional of Place Collab. Place Collab is based in Park City, Utah, focused on creating and sharing open source solutions in all places. They consult with design teams, building owners and operators, planners, and policymakers. They're a majority woman-owned and operated company and benefit corporation that provides regenerative solutions. They're engaged in projects at the regional, community, and building scales. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed today's episode.
Thanks for having us on this podcast. I'm Megan Recher. I'm an architect and urban planner with Place Collaborative. We're a place-based architecture and planning company that designs regenerative and resilient solutions. So.
Yeah, I'm Haley, also with Place Collaborative, originally from Portland, Oregon. My parents still live over in Bend, and I do road trips out there a lot. So exciting that Kiln has a location out in Portland, and yeah.
And we're heading there.
Yeah.
We're going to Portland.
We'll be in Portland, yeah.
It'll be a long drive, but we're excited to see. Portland's quite a unique place, as well as Park City being pretty incredible. And tell us a little bit, just briefly, about who you are, like what your background is, maybe your childhood, parents, grandparents. I don't mind, but just tell us a little bit, 30 seconds for each of you.
Awesome. I am from Florida. Parents are still there. Grew up building sandcastles and playing on the water. Learned what resilient design was very quickly because of hurricanes. I've lived all over the world and started architecture path a little bit later than I may have wanted to originally. And yeah, so that's my story.
Nice.
Yeah, and she has the coolest dog ever, Storm.
Oh yeah, what kind of dog?
I have an 8-year-old Belgian Malinois.
Yeah.
Oh,
she's
nice.
She's a
Perfect
good
little
dog.
trail dog.
She just hangs out too. She's just so mellow.
Does she come? Do you guys work out of here?
Mm-hmm.
Does she come in here?
I was going to bring her, but I wasn't sure if she'd be making noise today.
Oh, okay, all right.
But yeah, I'm Haley, and again, I'm originally from Portland. Moved out here, hopefully with the focus of doing exactly what we're doing now. So it worked out great. And then, yeah, I visit Bend a lot because my parents are over in Bend, and they both play. One of them plays the drums, the other plays bass. So I go jam with them sometimes and do road trips out there. And yeah.
What instrument do you play? Or do you sing?
I play guitar.
Okay.
And sing.
And paint. I have a lot of hobbies. I have a
Oh my
1981
goodness, sing as well.
Volkswagen that I'm trying to convert to electric someday.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so how did you guys meet?
We worked together at a previous firm. I think Haley came over on my first day and was just like, we're going to be friends. And I was like, yes. We both have dogs. We like outdoors.
Yeah.
Nice. What kind of dog do you have?
I have 2 mixes. They're just complete mixes.
Yeah.
They've got Labrador and Husky and all the things in them, and they're good dogs. They're
Okay.
fun.
Very cool.
Wow. So I kind of want to ask, like, why did you get into this line of business? But maybe even more important is why have you set up what you've established what you've established? What was the vision behind that? Like, and why?
We saw a need where there's a lot of firms doing similar things, but they're keeping all the information to themselves. And we always argued that this information needs to be shared with everyone, regardless if you're an architect or you're a developer or you're in tech or anything, and just start sharing the knowledge. The industry can actually make a huge improvement and take the appropriate steps in the right direction. And that was part of the reason with this firm. It's like, let's do these things and share the solutions so they're scalable for residents and commercial projects.
Can you give me like an example of what you mean by that? Like, yeah, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, so some of the projects will be fully regenerative, producing more energy than the building needs, or collecting all the rainwater and reusing it on site. And those solutions, like how to do that, aren't always shared. And a lot of companies think, well, you'll come to us for those solutions instead of sharing it to anyone. Where if the goal for the US, the world, is to be, carbon neutral or zero energy, it's like, well, we have to share this information and actually make the appropriate steps for everyone. So we do a lot of toolkits and things where it's scalable, regardless if it's, a 1-bedroom apartment, a house, what are we looking at, and how we can scale these up to large commercial projects for anyone. So it's
very focused on your purpose and mission, as opposed to, a lot of the other firms, it's very focused on,
money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's this much bigger, wider kind of vision of just make the world better, or the whatever country is. I like that.
And what got you into this space of architecture? Was it just, I guess, the same concept? Like you were both very interested in this mission overall, and like how can we help the world, kind of thing? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think part of it too is just because we can.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times it's looked at as sort of an extra. I think the sentiment is out there. There's a lot of people in other firms that want to do this type of work, but it's looked at as extra. We're going to need extra fee. We have to have some kind of extra type of client that wants to do this. And I think we looked at it and said, well, this could just be part of regular practice. It doesn't have to be seen as this other. This could just be built into the way that architecture practice functions. So that's really our goal with this firm, is just to, I think we say a lot of times that our bare minimum is net zero. And if we're going to design a building, you don't ask a client if the building's safe. So why would you ask the client if they want the building to, do better, to be sustainable, to not emit harmful chemicals in the air that you're breathing when you're inside the building? We spend so much of our time inside these spaces. It's just sort of a why not? Why wouldn't we do this?
Yeah, that makes sense. So it sounds I'm going to say it sounds easy. No, it doesn't sound easy, but like it's easy to say, hey, let's build a common community where people can share the data. But like, what obstacles are you actually facing, which must be quite a lot? What does that look like, sound like, the obstacles, and then how are you overcoming them?
Definitely knowledge. You can add on to that if you want. Sorry, I just grabbed it. But I think what Megan was saying earlier is so true, where it's like people who specialize in stuff, they really safeguard it and gatekeep the information. So then it feels almost like at times, like these projects, you're almost starting anew each time. You're working in a new state with a new project, and your contractor team maybe hasn't done a living building project before. So the knowledge has just been so exclusive that we're trying to kind of break down those barriers, because if we want progress in this area practice wide, it makes sense to share some of that.
I think another one too is we don't have limits on where we work, so it can be any state, any region, and so some of it's the regulatory issues.
Absolutely.
And a lot of it I think is they just don't know what they don't know. So some of it's kind of like an exciting challenge, where it's like educating the policymakers on why you have regulations on rainwater collection, or
that's exactly what I was thinking about.
So it's a lot of it's teaching them and like helping improve policy in the places that we want to work or living or invested in. So it is a fun challenge too, to be able to teach them and help make the changes for everyone, because sometimes it's just they don't know, or no one's ever asked them or brought it up to them.
Right. And if you haven't seen it in practice and seen a building function like that, how are you going to know those things? So it takes that first project in some of these places.
So how big is this is your guys, is this your firm then? How big is the firm right now?
7 people.
Yeah, that's amazing. And like, what does that look like? Because so what you just kind of said, so there's a lot of knowledge, but then also you're thinking about regulatory. Like, I mean, it seems like you got to be focused on a lot of different things. Because really, I loved what you were talking about like this is like the net zero, right? You're trying to raise this. You're trying to raise the floor, basically. This is where the floor should be. And I guess I'm interested in the team, and that's just an interesting concept. Like how you probably have to wear like a million hats.
We do. The team is awesome.
Oh my gosh, we have the coolest team.
Everyone is very different and unique in their like strengths and weaknesses, but also everyone is very collaborative, and we work really well together. So we're able to do each other's works to an extent, but then also like allow someone else to be the energy or water or whatever, the expert they need to be. And sometimes it's who wants to learn something new, who wants to take these on. So a lot of it's teaching each other what we know, but yeah, it's a fun team.
It is.
That's incredible.
I mean, we want to start, I'm going to ask you in a moment about like what your advice is for challenging the status quo for maybe listeners and audience members, but can you give us a couple of examples before we do that around what has worked in your strategy to overcome some of these challenges? So obviously you're educating, and what else have you tried maybe that failed or that succeeded or that you intend to do? Those 3 questions in that one. Take anything you want out of that, but strategies that are working, could be creative strategies. I don't know, like how are you educating and really getting them over the line?
I think some of them, I'll start and then you can take over. Some of them have been like polling the city officials on a project early on before you've even started. Be like, hey, this is what we envision for the site. Does this work? What do you think about it? How do we do these things and work with the city on solving the problem so they're empowered to understand what we're doing and why? That's definitely a huge one with us. The other is just communicating or talking to people and sharing solutions. And on the website, we're just creating more and more like copy and pastable documents that are free and like, hey, this is how you can do these things. Yeah. This is different strategies. So it's somehow like putting the information out to get people to, understand what's going on.
Yeah, like we have a process for vetting just the materials in the building that are new materials that we're bringing in, new coatings for the interior, and how we're avoiding volatile organic compounds in those materials. And so as we develop that process, we've been sharing tools so that other people can go through that themselves a little easier and have the resources to be able to choose a little bit better. Even if their building and their firm is not pursuing the same certifications, maybe people can use that tool at other firms to better their practice.
Interesting.
It seems like before we get into the rest of the episode, we want to thank the partners and sponsors who made the Kiln Road Trip possible. The Kiln Road Trip is brought to you by Kiln. Kiln is a boutique co-working and flex office community with 13 locations in 6 states across the West, dedicated to providing innovative workspaces that empower your team to thrive. Whether you're a solo visionary or an enterprise-level team of up to 100, Kiln transcends being merely a place to work. It's a hub for learning and connecting with like-minded professionals that will make you and your team love where you work.
And if you haven't stepped foot inside a kiln yet, you really need to. On this road trip, we visited every single location, and trust us when we say once you see these beautifully designed spaces, meet the talented team, and connect with fellow members, you won't want to work anywhere else.
Locations include Utah, Colorado, Idaho, Oregon, California, and Arizona. And they're growing too, with multiple locations set to open in 2024.
Yeah, so be sure to check out the Kiln locations nearest you by booking a tour at Kiln.com and answer Swell in the question, how did you hear about us? Once you complete the tour, you'll be entered into a competition where you could win a 1-year membership, their club membership at Kiln.
Yep, you heard that. That's Kiln.com, book a tour, and be sure to mention Swell in the question, how did you hear about us?
The Kiln Road Trip is also brought to you by Moterra Camper Vans, a luxury camper van rental company for iconic road trips. Their top-of-the-line vans are available at 7 locations located near America's best outdoor adventure destinations. They have consistently earned the highest customer ratings in the industry, making Moterra camper vans your gateway to adventure without sacrificing on comfort or service.
That's true, and initially we wanted to take this journey in a 1960s VW bus, but thankfully we found Moterra instead. With 3 van options, we took the Pop Top Classic, which sleeps 4 and is best for those who want to maximize floor space and storage. This was critical for us because it needed to sleep the entire crew, we needed space to edit, and we were traveling with large amounts of equipment, luggage, and other goodies that we picked up along the way.
And this van took us through all 3,580 miles of the trip. Super comfortable and sweet to drive.
And actually, Moterra offers fully planned itineraries if you'd rather leave the planning to someone else.
Visit gomoterra.com/swell. That's gomoterra.com/swell.
This episode is also brought to you by Taurus. Taurus is leading the charge in home energy storage. Taurus makes it easy to achieve energy independence and a greener tomorrow. The Taurus station provides everything you need to generate clean power, efficiently store electricity, and easily manage your energy use.
And installing a Taurus station offers plenty of benefits, including save money on your electricity bill,
Also, ensure energy security with backup power during outages.
reduce carbon emissions with renewables,
You can also automate EV charging and HVAC systems with 100% renewables.
and enjoy unrivaled system monitoring and support.
If you like the sound of those benefits, get a quote to build your Taurus station in less than 30 seconds. Super easy at taurus.co. That's TORUS.co. Now, let's get back to the episode. So not only do you guys have to just learn so much, I imagine, but there's got to be so much pushing involved with what you're doing. Is that exhausting? Does it get tiring at some point?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But, you just show up every day and do the best that you can.
Yeah.
And I think we're all a little bit in that attitude where we like the challenge.
Yeah.
So it's, this is what we do.
It's
and
amazing.
It's
we'll
that,
keep trying.
and when there's a purpose behind what you're doing too, it doesn't feel like a typical project push at a firm where you're not understanding exactly what the purpose of the thing that you're doing is, or why the outcome is going to be better for people. So at this firm, it's so different because the work itself is, you almost just want to keep working. There's a little bit of a tendency to be workaholics because we all believe in what we're doing, and it's just we know how important it is to change the field.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So what's next? Okay. Give us the advice first for challenging the status quo for anyone. It could be in your industry, or it could be just anyone out there that wants to know, because you are challenging the status quo here, right? You're actually intentionally saying we're going to do this thing and we're going to build this new way of working together more collaboratively across companies. But yeah, what's your one piece of advice to challenge the status quo?
I think it'd be share the knowledge, and to quit thinking of others as competitors, and just think of, if we can do one thing better, they'll be able to do that better, and just keep stepping up. So I think that's my biggest thing, is you actually make a difference when you share.
Absolutely. We built our practice so that we're also consultants, so other firms can hire us instead of competing with us. They can, if they don't have a sustainability team within their firm that's versed in these kind of projects, we can come on board as a consultant and make their project better with them.
I like that. Yeah. So what is next for? Would you describe this as you're building a community? Is this the start of building a community? I know I'm putting the word community into everything. I'm just saying. I think of one of our other guests that's actually trying to create, a platform. Well, sharing of pathology data where no one would share it normally, for the purposes of, if you share it, we'll save millions of people's lives over a long term. Like, I don't know if that really relates. The fact is, you're trying to share information in a similar way. Are you trying? What is next to get this, to where you want it to be in 5 years, 10 years time?
I would say where everyone is implementing different resilient or regenerative strategies, so that we are making a better planet for everyone. We do a lot of adaptive reuse of existing projects, and the carbon that you're saving doing that versus building something new is huge, and we all make a difference. So I think the biggest thing is just keep sharing this knowledge so we can do the right thing.
Yeah, I like it. Anything? You're going to create a big conference in 5 years from now? Is it going to be a conference we can attend?
You can attend ones where we're speaking at.
There we go.
Yeah, we've been speaking at some and sharing that knowledge. I'm excited for the day where another firm that previously saw themselves as competitors with us comes to us and says, hey, we used your tool and this is how we improved upon it for our process.
That's great. Yeah. Well, we're nearly up for time, but what's you got some?
So you guys work out of Kiln?
We do.
Yeah. What do you think of Kiln, and how has Kiln, what has that meant to you, kind of at the stage that you're at with your business?
Kiln's been invaluable.
Yeah.
They're amazing. One, it allows the flexibility of workspaces. Some of our teams in Salt Lake, if you're traveling to Portland or other places, you're able to just sit somewhere and work. But also they are perfect matchmakers for professional settings or social settings where they're like, oh, this person's doing marketing and this one's doing AI and this is in tech. Here you go. You should talk to each other. Right. And that alone, just learning from other people in completely different fields. Because before we're always surrounded with planners, architects, policy things. Mm-hmm. Here there's so many different minds and ideas and creations. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. So. It's a space that really inspires that curiosity that creates change. So that's been really cool. It's been cool at this scale that we're at to be able to feel like we're part of a larger community. Kiln does a great job at that. Yeah.
Love that.
And
wonderful.
Dog friendly. So
yeah,
awesome.
dog friendly. Yeah, that's amazing. We really appreciate having both of you on the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Kiln Road Trip. Be sure to follow along on the rest of the journey, and you can do that in 2 ways. 1, subscribe to the podcast, whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or maybe even watching on YouTube, and follow along on all of our social media platforms, whether you're on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or TikTok, at the Swell Pod. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next episode.